want to go to Art Laffer, former economic advisor to President Ronald Reagan. Art, do you know Richard Duncan at all?
No, I don't. Frankly, I really don't. I couldn't believe what I heard, Glenn.
Okay.
I mean, that's, wow.
Okay. I agree with his assessment on how much trouble we're in, but...
Well, we are in trouble, but his solution is just ridiculous. Get government out of the way. Americans will be able to solve this. Low-rate flat tax, spending restraint, sound money, free trade, and regulatory reform, and this economy will be back booming in 5 years. It'll be great. I don't understand his big government solution, and government will create all this technology. It's never done anything productive except getting out of the way and then letting us do it, Glenn.
Right. I mean,
and you know that. And that's where it goes.
Here's what we were just talking about on the floor, that. Let's just take his problem, and he says, we take government out of it, then we have a $14 trillion economy. And that's
he's using GNP accounting. That's all. He doesn't understand economics. One, the government doesn't hold people up. The government doesn't create resources. It redistributes them. Every dollar it gives to someone to bail them out, it takes from someone else and destroys their production. Let's imagine we redistributed 100% of GDP. So everyone who didn't work and didn't produce received everything, and all those who did work and did produce received nothing. GDP would be zero, Glenn. And this guy thinks it would be higher. He doesn't know how to add. I was really quite shocked. I mean, yes, we are in trouble, but that doesn't mean he's not making any sense at all.
Right.
We can bring back the Reagan policies of the 80s and boom it.
Right. Here's what I said at the beginning of the interview. I agree with his assessment on how much trouble we're in if we don't pay attention.
We are in trouble. That's true.
Right. But I don't agree with his solution because, as we were saying here on the floor, if you say 15% flat tax, everybody pays 15% flat tax. And we're not going to screw around with regulatory crap anymore. We're going to let you alone. You can't
Obamacare, repeal Dodd-Frank.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't cheat. Right. You can't steal. And we're going to put you in jail if you do. However, we're going to leave you alone to create. You go and create and use your own money.
Yeah, it's great. Look at what you're doing with this show and what you're creating and building, even within this regulatory and structurous and tax environment. You're doing a phenomenal job with a new TV station, Glenn. I mean, there are entrepreneurs all over America like you who would do a really great job if government would get out of the way. But this guy, and I don't know where you found him, but my goodness gracious.
From CNBC. It has NBC in the name. Art. Here's the thing. I said to my staff today that I don't fully trust. I should rephrase this. I don't know what Mitt Romney is going to do. I know that Mitt Romney doesn't hate America. I know that Mitt Romney is not a redistribution guy. I know that he understands the free market. However, I don't know if he's in with the bailouts and all of this stuff. But generally speaking, he's going to be moving us in the right direction.
Yes, he is.
If we allow Mitt Romney to come in, we survive. If we don't, I've said this to the staff several times, if Barack Obama is elected to a second term, we won't be able to stay in business. I mean, in 4 years' time, I don't think we can stay in business. This guy has told us last week, I don't know if you saw this, Art, he's saying that people didn't create. There are no creators. Everybody because somebody had a road, they built a factory, and all of a sudden they were, McDonald's or Kellogg's.
Yes.
What?
Yes, I gotcha. But Glenn, we Americans have enormous resiliency strength, even to abide some terrible thing like a second Obama term. I don't want that either, and I don't think we're going to get it. But we will survive through that if that were to happen, and our boom would start 4 years later. But, this country is going to do really well. I think you're right about Romney. I think he's a good, solid, fine guy who wants to take us in the right direction. I don't know much about him. I don't know him very well at all. But he looks fine to me, and I think he's going to win, and I think we're going to get prosperity.
I do, too.
But wait.
We
won't die in 4 years.
So let me ask you. You want to bet on that one? You both, and we'll both.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm 72.
It's 4 years, Art. Come on. Are you really 72?
4 years. It's just a moment in history.
I mean, it's a moment in history. 4 years from now, if Obama gets in, if you have the one good shirt, I get your shirt.
It's a deal. It's a deal.
Here's the thing.
But if I'm right, what do I get? You've
You get a
already said the
boom.
world's going to have nothing, so what?
If you're right, you get a boom. All right?
I get a boom. Well, I mean, do I get a time on the show to go neener, neener, neener? See, I
Yeah,
told
of
you
course,
so.
of
I'm
course.
just
I don't know. You'll be so
you know
senile
that,
by
Glenn.
then. You'll be like 87
I'm
years
already
old.
pretty bad.
So Art,
yes, sir.
do you feel confident that Romney would get in and not continue the bailouts and to bail out overseas and everyone else?
Yeah. Let me just say that there are many, many things a president does along with Congress. There will be mistakes that Romney makes, just like Ronald Reagan made some mistakes as well. But the balance of what Romney will do along with a good Republican Congress will be spectacular. And you will have a boom of incredible proportions. Now, if you want to point out problems, there will be problems you can point out. But this man, in conjunction with the Republican Senate and House, will lead us to a really big prosperity, I think better than Reagan and Clinton did combined. So I'm very excited about the next 20 years. And I'm going to live through it, by the way, with you and make a lot of money with you.
I will tell you this, that
I'll be 92 at the end of that boom, so then I'm going to be ready to.
I will tell you, leave me in your will you? I will tell you that
I will.
That if Romney gets in, I think there's a chance that we have 7-8 years of prosperity. But I mean, come on,
I do too.
Art. The idea that this deficit can be maintained is fantasy.
It can't be. It can't be. But the way you solve a deficit is not by more government spending like this guy you talked to a moment ago. The way you do it is you use Ryan's budget. Cut cap and balance or balanced budget amendment. You get a low rate flat tax. So you get a lot more tax revenues, but not because you raise tax rates, but because you get people employed and have them productive and make lots of money. That's how you balance the budget. And then you'll get that debt coming down over time like we did for many, many years after World War II through great prosperity. And then you need sound money. Ben Bernanke's been doing an awful job, but it is fixable. And then you get free trade, and then you get the regulatory reform. And, in 10 years, you really will have an incredible prosperity. And I'm very excited about this happening. And I was there before when it did happen. If you look at Reagan pre his presidency, you weren't sure what he was going to do. Really, honestly, you weren't. He had been a pretty poor governor of the state of California. He'd raised taxes and did a lot of spending as governor. But when he came in and the problems were there, you saw Reagan take the bull by the horns, and boy, did he lead us into a great prosperity. And that I think you're going to see happen again. It's almost the identical situation it was in 1980 today is. Including the president, very much like Jimmy Carter. I mean, Obama and Jimmy Carter are interchangeable.
Oh, I mean, when they took hostages after an Islamic revolution in Egypt, and they took hostages, I went, well, the Obama-Carter circle is complete
it's exactly
now.
it.
I mean, it is amazing.
And these things go in cycles. And there were people like you back then, Glenn, who were really pushing us on and egging us on to do the right thing, and it worked. And 40, 50 years from now, we'll maybe go through this cycle again. But you're doing a great job of alerting people to the problems. But because of people like you, Glenn, there will be a great turnout of the electorate, and we will win, and we'll bring that prosperity back.
Art, I don't know whatever it is that you take for vitamins, but I want some because you are the most optimistic man I can ever talk to.
Because I know what you're doing, Glenn, what you've done, and why I've loved you even when you were on CNN. I thought you were great because you do point out the problems, but you also give the optimism back, and you do give the right solutions, and they're not that difficult. You can't tax an economy into prosperity. I've never heard of a poor man spending himself into wealth. It's silly. I mean, it is just plain stupid. If you tax people who work, and you pay people who don't work, which is what Obama does, you're going to get a lot of people not working. All we need to do is reverse those policies, play the film backwards, and we'll have it. But, the thing I worry about is a lot of people think it's Democrat, Republican. It's not. W in his last 2 years in office was just as bad as Obama with TARP, with taking over Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, with doing all these other things. It's really not Republican, Democrat. It's just good economics.